Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Wednesday, August 30th, 2017. My name is Thomas Hunt, and here's what's happened today in Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin was up 0.34% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 45.62, a high of 46.17, and a low of 45.17. As Bitcoin surges in price and popularity, so do the complaints. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has received 425 complaints this year, more than 288 against Coinbase. Although, as the article does note, part of the reason for the complaints is the incredibly onerous KYC requirements placed upon Coinbase by the government. So in many ways, the government is causing Coinbase to have so many complaints. However, the server problems are their own. Why miners are mining Bitcoin Cash and losing money doing it? No one really knows why they're mining Bitcoin Cash. They could be holding a large stack of it. They could believe that it will go up. They could be coerced. But they're certainly doing it, and they're leaving a lot of Bitcoin money on the table. Very good article from Jimmy Song. Bitcoin jumps nearly 70% for August to a record high, while Bitcoin Cash falls to a more than 1 week low. The media still loves reporting on the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin going away is delusional thinking, says a finance advisor to investors. And this is what I've been saying for years. Now that Bitcoin's here, the cat's out of the bag. Pandora has opened her box, and it's not going away. Here's how Bitcoin is dwarfing the housing and .com bubbles. As it shows in this chart, the so-called Bitcoin bubble looks a lot sharper and a lot more like an S-curve than the slower rises of the so-called technology and housing bubbles. As you can see from the chart, the technology bubble was really just the first in a long movement to the technology stocks taking over the market, as they call them now, the Netflix, Amazon, Google, and Netflix, FANG stocks. Something similar could happen with Bitcoin. We could just be seeing the new normal rather than a new bubble. And last night I hosted a panel on Bitcoin legal and SEC and you. You can check it out here on the World Crypto Network. It went really well. Also last night, Jimmy Song hosted Eric Lombrozo on his new show, Off Chain. Check that out right here on the World Crypto Network. Thanks for giving us a thumbs up and a share. Apologies for the echoey audio. I'm in an empty apartment. We're also joined by Jimmy Song for a check of the current scaling. How's it going, Jimmy?
It's going well. It looks like miners have slowed down on Bitcoin Cash a little bit. Thanks for linking to my article. I had speculated that perhaps they were being subsidized to mine, but it looks like pools like Ampool have dropped off mining Bitcoin Cash. They're fully on Bitcoin at this point, it looks like. But the back and forth is, we've had a few cycles of sort of miners going from one to the other. But this one is really interesting because you're not able to make as much money on Bitcoin Cash as you do on Bitcoin. So, that was sort of the speculation in my article. Some other people have come up with theories. Richard Hart believes that maybe there are people that are shorting Bitcoin and sort of, funding the Bitcoin Cash mining as a way to sort of disrupt Bitcoin by taking away some hash power or something like that. We really don't know, but what we do know is that they are mining at a loss, so they're either ideologically or profit driven, and that's kind of a big question there. We also noticed an uptick in SegWit transactions as more wallets are starting to support it. We know that Trezor now supports SegWit transactions in their beta wallet. We know that several other wallets have started utilizing SegWit outputs and things like that. So that's causing more SegWit transactions to come on, and that's causing the blocks to be a little bigger. Like we've been saying, SegWit is a block size increase, so you can have blocks that are greater than a megabyte. But in order to do that, you need to include SegWit transactions to do it. So as the supply of SegWit transactions gets bigger, we can expect the blocks to get bigger and bigger until we reach about 2 megabyte, which is sort of the optimal point there. I did do that interview with Eric Lombrozo last night. Great guy. We talked a lot about sort of SegWit and how it came to be and what sort of things we can expect going forward. I also had a blog post last night that I published about making Bitcoin better. I'm starting a series of seminars. So if you're interested, please take a look at my Twitter, and that's it for me.
All right, thanks, Jimmy. And we could just ask everybody to give us a thumbs up and a share. If it's your first time here, please subscribe down below. We're also joined by Tone Vase for a quick check of the markets. How's it going, Tone?
Going good, going good. Hey, Jimmy. So quick question for you, because we mentioned it earlier. So there could be blocks less than 1 megabyte in size that have SegWit transaction in them. But you also mentioned before that there was some kind of, I guess, a condition in the code that a miner would need to flip to allow them to mine blocks greater than 1 megabyte. And we're suspecting that some pools have just not done that yet.
Yeah, so there's something called max block size parameter in the code that a lot of this was brought up in the Bitcoin devs meeting I think last week, about how it's set to 1 megabyte by default, but you can set it to 4 megabytes, and it'll just if you leave it at the default, then no matter what, the miner won't mine anything greater than 1 megabyte. What I was hearing was that a lot of miners were getting scared to make that the 4 megabytes like the core devs told them to, just because they were like, what if mine gets rejected? It's kind of a big deal if you miss out on block reward. So they were a little bit hesitant, but as they see more of these blocks that are over 1 megabyte coming in, I think that some of that fear is sort of subsiding, and they're changing that parameter. But it's understandable. Miners are kind of conservative about this sort of thing, so they're not going to be the first, but they'll gladly be like the 7th, 8th, or 9th. So
I gotcha. Though that explanation is a little funny to me, considering these miners that are scared that their block will get rejected are happens to be the same ones that are mining Bcash instead of Bitcoin, which is why I find it unreasonably ironic. But anyway, the mempool is what I consider empty at 2,800 transactions deep, and the last block cleared 1,600 transactions, and the block before cleared over 2,000 transactions. So right now, sending a Bitcoin transaction is actually very, very cheap. And I just want to point out that, I don't know, a very short while ago, where is it? Bitcoin.com is still mining, quarter full blocks, just to point that out for people that still weren't sure what's going on. And here are the blocks that are over 1 megabyte. And as for the SegWit transactions, I was connected to a website that shows you how many SegWit transactions there were in every block. So it doesn't really look like many. I'm assuming this is up to, I'm not sure how up to date this is.
You have to scroll down. So that was the very first block. Yeah. So,
it's in reverse order.
Yeah. So you want to go all the way down.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay, so there you go. So you can see how many SegWit transactions were in a block. Then you can go, unfortunately, you don't have enough information here. You can go and take a look at the transactions, and then you can take a look whether this block was above or below 1 megabyte, and that may give you an idea of whether that mining pool or miner has set that parameter above 1 megabyte, or they still haven't. So hopefully other people can put all this together into one nice, GUI interface. All right, let's jump onto the price. So here's the weekly look. Nothing has changed. I think this is how I've started this chart for the last, I think since we started today in Bitcoin like a month ago. I'll repeat saying nothing on the weekly has changed. We are bullish, and we are still looking for more upside on the bullish chart weekly, at least another week or two of upside, and then we will reevaluate. Like, for example, this is known as a reversal candle, but this candle came very early in this bull run. If this candle comes in next week or the week after, it is something to be taken very, very seriously. So this is what I will be looking for over the next 3 weeks, and maybe even the rest of this week. This week is only halfway in. I'm hoping that this week ends near all-time highs, and I'll be looking for one of these candles over the next couple of weeks in order to gauge whether we are finally slowing down in long-term price momentum. The bird's eye view may look like a bubble on a linear scale. On a logarithmic scale, it isn't the end of the world. If we do get a correction, we could get a correction down to 3,000. It would be about 30%. And that's not a big deal because we just had a 30% correction, earlier this year, and then look where we are today. So we're bullish, and don't try to pick a top. The daily chart is starting to get a little interesting because the daily counts are starting to come to an end with a potential, end of trend selling event tomorrow. So let's watch the show tomorrow. I'll have a lot more to say. For now, I will say that if this candle took place at a higher level, I would take it a little more seriously. I'm not really worried about Bitcoin falling on a daily chart quite yet. And I have added a 4-hour chart to my viewing commentary, where I tweeted out last night that this 9 needs to be taken seriously and to pay attention to. We have pulled back a little bit, and the most likely outcome is a 1 to 4 candle pullback followed by more upside. So that is what I'm looking for now. At the moment, I'm expecting this low to hold and for us to get back to new highs and then potentially top out in the next couple of days, short term again for 1 to 4 days this time. So we are near the potential end of this bullish trend, but I still think there are days to maybe a week or two to go, and then we reevaluate.
All right,
back
Tom,
to you, Tom.
Thanks for that update. And thanks to everybody for watching. I'm getting ready to close out my apartment here and then go back to Sacramento. I'm going to contact everybody today about all the gracious offers for Europe. Thank you so much. Thanks to Eric, who yesterday bought me a microphone and a lavalier set. I'm going to be doing interviews with everyone that I stay with in Europe. And I'm going to be shooting lots of scenery and then cutting the two together into a little Bitcoin Europe documentary. So it should be pretty cool. Thanks again for giving us a thumbs up and a share. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, bye-bye.